Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business on Canada's podcast network. Joining me today is James Millar, who is president and CEO of the International CCS Knowledge Centre. Thanks for joining us today, James.
Hi, Mario. Nice to see you again. Mario and I have known each other for a number of years, and funny that we both started our career as journalists, so I think we're probably still recovering.
Yeah, we are. So
Yeah,
tell me, James, just a little bit about this, the Knowledge Center, and what it is, and its background, and how it came to be.
sure. So I've been with the organization for just 6 months, Mario, and before that, I spent probably 15 years pushing large-scale energy projects up a very steep hill, namely LNG off Canada's east coast, a little project that a lot of people have heard of in Keystone XL and Energy East. So if I took off my suit jacket, you might see a couple of scars. So I feel like with carbon capture and storage, I'm more on the side of the angels now, and I think there's a broad acceptance of the technology. It's a proven technology, and it can really help us combat climate change and do it at a larger scale. So the International CCS Knowledge Centre, how did that come about? Well, one of the best politicians I think I've had the pleasure of working around in my memory, Premier Brad Wall of Saskatchewan. And he really took the bold step in 2011, 2012 to invest $900 million in a first of a kind CCS project on a coal fired power plant. Never been done in the world, a 7,000 to 1 scale up from the workbench to having a 1 megaton facility. So kudos to Premier Wall for doing that. So that came on stream in 2014. And then in 2016, the International CCS Knowledge Center came about. It was the brainchild of BHP, the international mining company, and Sask Power, the Crown-owned utility in Saskatchewan. So they partnered and formed the Knowledge Center. And so basically what it did for the first 6 years and is still doing is it travels globally and through the great things like Zoom and Teams, has conversations with many stakeholders, whether it be companies or governments or academics. And we talk a lot about CCS, the merits of CCS, and the fact that it really should be incorporated to meet those climate targets. And the benefit that the Knowledge Center has is it has the knowledge gained from 8 years of operating a 1 megaton facility. So Mario, warts and all. And those are some of the best lessons learned, because what we've done at the Knowledge Center probably in the last year and a half is more morphed into consulting with companies that want to do CCS. So we did the feasibility study for Lehigh Cement out of Edmonton. They want to be the first cement firm in the world to have CCS on them. We've done consulting for fertilizer, for natural gas. And so for various companies and all high emitters and heavy emitters, those are the companies that really need to incorporate CCS if we want to make a dent in our climate targets in Canada, some very aggressive targets in Canada, and really around the world. You know, we've even done some work in India, looking at helping them map CCS on coal-fired facilities, and have had some discussions with the World Bank on imparting our knowledge in developing countries in Africa to see if they might be interested in CCS. So a broad gamut, but with the goal of sharing knowledge globally to build a greener future. That's really our vision.
Oh, okay. And obviously, this whole area, James, is becoming, as you mentioned, the climate targets, et cetera. But this whole area is becoming more and more important out there in the world these days, especially here in Canada, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing about Canada is there are currently 30 operational projects globally, and we have 5 of them in Canada. So we account for 2% or less than 2% of global emissions, and yet we're sequestering enough carbon that accounts for 15% of the emissions being sequestered. So I'll use a sports analogy. You can
Really?
relate to that from years ago. We're punching above our weight. So
Yeah.
we're doing a very good job in Canada, but I have seen CCS really explode, I'd say, in the last year and a half, 2 years, not even two. I think in the spring of 2023, it'll have been 2 years, with, I think, companies recognizing that we need to do CCS if we're to tackle the problem. And so they've been embracing it. And look at all the projects that have been announced in Alberta. And we're actually consulting with Emissions Reduction Alberta on 11 of their projects through the Kickstart program in supporting companies doing CCS. But, I think you've seen this over the years. Alberta's been a leader in so many areas and is really leading in CCS pathways. Look at the job that they're doing, and Capital Power and Enbridge, kudos to them. And they could end up being the first large-scale CCS project with their Wabamun development. And they announced that just the other week. And there's Indigenous participation, which is always so positive and I think must happen in Canada with energy. So it really has exploded globally, but Canada has been a leader in this space, and Alberta really is leading the pack, I'd say.
Now, James, you recently announced a partnership with Avatar Innovation. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, that's very exciting for us, because one thing I've thought since I took the role just 6 months ago is, I'm based in Calgary, but head office for the Knowledge Centre is in Regina. But those of us in Calgary, we were 0 a year ago, and now we're up to 6. So we need a place to live, Mario. We need some office space.
Yeah.
So we have that at the Energy Transition Centre in the Ampersand building in Calgary. So we just got that literally a week ago, and we're quite excited. But in addition to having that office space at the ETC, we also have a partnership with Avatar. And Kevin Krausert, I didn't know him before, and I'm disappointed I didn't, because boy, he's a dynamo. He is such a Renaissance man and such a progressive thinker. And what he and his partner and Brian Trudell and Hugh have done at Avatar is nothing sort of remarkable in 18, 20 months. What they've done in the sector to be that incubator for young engineers, to put forward projects, to support them in those projects, and to really make a difference in the energy transition. So, we were pleased. I was there the other week, and we were pleased to announce a partnership with Avatar, where we're going to provide an educational component in their Avatar Ignites segment of what they offer, and offer an educational component in carbon capture and storage to help get young engineers to understand it a bit better, maybe gain an interest, and who knows, maybe come work with us down the road. So, and the other thing I like to say is, Kevin said he hasn't taken a day off in 18, 20 months. So hopefully he gets a day off at Christmas, but he's done some amazing work. And I also would tip the hat to Cenovus, where they've been such a huge supporter of what Kevin and Brian and others are trying to do. And with the 750 million that they've put down, 750,000, a little bit less than that, but 750,000 they put forward for a venture capital fund. So there is actually some money available for some of these technologies to be developed. So it's nice to see how the energy industry in downtown Calgary, and even the midstreamers in TC Energy and in Enbridge, CNRL and Suncor, have really supported this initiative. And they're, they're putting their time and their money where their mouth is, in saying, yes, we're committed to net zero by 2050, but we're doing something about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks, James, for joining us today.
Thanks, Miro. It's great to see you again, and great to talk to you.
All right. We'll talk again in the future. That was James
Bye.
Millar, who is President and CEO of the International CCS Knowledge Centre. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.